Albuquerque Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Gabriella Blakey gave her State of the District address on Tuesday, where she highlighted some of APS's victories and some issues they're still working on. A new trade group has launched to advocate for the state's cannabis industry 3 years after adult use sales began. The Desert Club of Albuquerque, which is a longtime hub for substance abuse support groups, will remain open after surpassing its $18,000 fundraising goal to repair its parking lot and its sidewalk. Santa Fe's iconic burning of Zozobra returns for its 101st year with a steampunk theme. And at 100 years old, Ted Rush celebrated his milestone birthday by throwing out the first pitch at the Isotopes game on Sunday. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Wednesday, August 27th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee, supporting the Kirtland National Security Complex since 1995. With 109 mission sets across 52,000 acres, Kirtland Air Force Base sits at the heart of innovation, national defense, and global security. KPC is proud to champion military value, economic growth, and quality of life for service members and their families. Learn more at kpcabq.org. KPC, mission-focused, community-driven.
Albuquerque Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Gabriella Blakey gave her State of the District address on Tuesday, where she highlighted some of APS's victories and some issues they're still working on. With more on the address, I'm now joined by the Journal's education reporter Noah Kalabach, who was at the event. Noah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Gino.
So, Noah, what can you tell us about what the superintendent discussed during her address on Tuesday?
A lot of her speech focused on the progress that has been made in her first year. One of the things that she talked about is how the district students are now hitting and in some cases exceeding the goals set for them by the school board back in 2023. She mentioned some of these not super traditional learning paths, the career academies that you have at 3 high schools now that we wrote about, which basically begin training for high school students as soon as they walk into the doors of those high schools. She talked a little bit about this program the district has with ASU where they're collaborating to try and change the middle school experience. So really just a look at the things the district is doing and the things the district has done. Now, as people who maybe follow APS closely and saw her State of the District last year, her tone was about reform and the problems that the district was facing. And the tone for this one seemed to be a lot more of a celebration of what APS has accomplished in that first year.
And Noah, one thing that was really interesting in your story is how the superintendent really talked about leaving behind this one-size-fits-all approach that APS was doing. What exactly does she mean by that?
I think that she's saying that they're no longer taking that one-size-fits-all approach because they want to embrace learning wherever their students are at. I think many of our readers are familiar with the Yazzie Martinez landmark ruling and know that there's a group of students that have been classified by a landmark ruling as underserved. And APS has to take a different approach to those students as opposed to maybe more privileged students. Even outside of that scope, I think, you have a lot more. We've talked about it on this show before. You've got kids that are looking to go into trade careers now. APS is learning what they can do to fulfill their needs. So a lot of what she was saying is, hey, look, we're taking approaches, we're taking multiple approaches. We're meeting the students where they're at. We're offering them options for readiness after they walk the stage at their respective high schools. And we're saying, hey, we will provide what you need to be successful in the community and life after your K through 12 education.
But Noah, one issue that continues to be a thorn in the side of APS is chronic absenteeism. The superintendent once again mentioned that in her address. What exactly did she say about it?
Well, she said that, repeated the call that she's made many times, that students need to be in classroom. And it makes sense. You have learning gaps when kids aren't sitting there and, learning what they have to do every day. And when they're missing a lot of school, it obviously affects academic performance in many cases. So, it's a call that she hasn't shied away from at all. I sat down with the superintendent ahead of the school year, and she said the biggest issue that we're facing right now is chronic absenteeism, is that kids aren't in the classroom as much, or as much as they need to be in many cases.
And Noah, another speaker that was at the event on Tuesday was APS Board President Danielle Gonzalez. What can you tell us about what she shared at the event?
Board President Gonzalez touted the progress the district was making academically, especially in line with the goals and guardrails. And that's notable because, she was on the board when they set those goals back in 2023, which is just a year before Blakey became superintendent. So again, she just touted those goals and the fact that Blakey and her team are doing these interim reports, some of which we've written about, that show that students are on target, in some cases exceeding the goals that have been set for them as far as proficiency ratings, college and career readiness, things of that nature.
And Noah, lastly, I want to ask you about Teachers Union leader Ellen Bernstein and her reaction to the address. What did she have to say to you about it?
She told me she thought it was a positive message. She liked that Blakey has a very clear vision for the district. She also said that she likes that they're, looking for community input, and they're not doing that one-size-fits-all approach anymore, and offering students and and educators as well the option to really kind of modify education to fit the needs of the students they're serving. Now, she did take issue with how much weight is being put on some of these goals and guardrails, and specifically standardized testing, which in some cases is used on those monitoring reports to measure proficiency and performance. But overall, she seems happy with the superintendent's message and with the way that she also, commended educators during her speech.
So some insight from Superintendent Blakey on how APS is succeeding and still some issues they have to work on. Journal reporter Noah Kolopok stopping by to share the latest with us. Thank you so much, Noah.
Thanks, Gino.
In other headlines from the newsroom, a new trade group, the Cannabis Association of New Mexico, has launched to advocate for the state's cannabis industry 3 years after adult use sales began. The organization brings together prominent industry leaders, including executives from Rio Grande Analytics, Lava Leaf Organics, and other major companies, and plans to focus on tax reform, regulatory improvements, education, and networking. Executive Director Matt Kennecock said the group will address market challenges like oversaturation, citing nearly 200 business closures or non-renewals. The association hopes to fill a leadership gap left by a less active cannabis chamber of commerce, aiming to strengthen advocacy and create a more sustainable market. The Desert Club of Albuquerque, a longtime hub for substance abuse support groups, will remain open after surpassing its $18,000 fundraising goal to repair its parking lot and sidewalk. The club, located at 4305 Mesa Grande Northeast, risks losing its property liability insurance without the upgrades. Vice President Robert Boton said the outpouring of support from local and out-of-state donors, quote, exceeded our goal pretty comfortably. Open since 1957, the club hosts daily meetings and community events. The repairs are set to begin next week and finish before its September 27th barbecue. Santa Fe's iconic burning of Zozobra is returning for its 101st year with a steampunk theme, dressing the 50-foot marionette in gears, clocks, and even a robotic hand with moving fingers. Created in 1924 by artist William Schuster, Zozobra draws tens of thousands of visitors who burn written, quote, glooms and personal items to symbolize the release of hardships. Event chair Ray Sandoval said the themed approach, which was introduced in 2014, has boosted engagement, particularly with younger audiences, as seen in a surge of kids' art contest entries. This year's festival will also feature live music by Easy Band, blending 80s pop with a ranchera style. Organizers are balancing creativity with tradition, keeping the original ritual intact. The event also includes a free rail runner shuttle from Albuquerque and remains a deeply symbolic celebration of letting go of negativity. And at 100 years old, Ted Rush, a Marine veteran, retired Albuquerque music teacher, and former conductor of the Albuquerque Symphony Orchestra, celebrated his milestone birthday by throwing out the first pitch at an Isotopes game on Sunday. Rush, who served as a Marine clarinetist and litter bearer during World War II's Battle of Okinawa, later spent 35 years teaching music at Albuquerque schools, influencing generations of students. A lifelong athlete, he played senior softball into his 90s and still walks regularly. Rush credits his longevity to fitness, healthy eating, and strong social connections, and remains active in his church and community. Having moved to Albuquerque in 1951, Rush says the city has, quote, been good to me, reflecting on a life marked by service, music, and resilience. The leading news is powered by the journalism of the Albuquerque Journal. If you enjoy hearing all of the stories we share with you here daily, please consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Journal by utilizing the discount code in our show notes. Every subscription helps support local journalism and allows us to provide you with the news that matters to you. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Isolated showers and thunderstorms are expected today before 9 a.m., then scattered showers and thunderstorms after 12 p.m., mostly sunny with a high near 89. As for this evening, partly cloudy skies are expected, with a low around 66. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. That's the leading news. I'm Chino Gutierrez. We'll be back tomorrow.